It seems as though Charlie Kirk's death was the final nail in the coffin of the curse on America. And the curse being us falling away from God spiritually and becoming atheists and other things, and politically, us falling into the hands of socialism. It seems to me that Charlie Kirk was sacrificed for America, for the American people to be free again, to have their nation back, and to turn back to God and be saved from socialism, atheism, Satanism, every other thing that contradicts God and Christianity, so that this nation could be restored to the once great nation that it was, and to be a Christian nation once again, filled with people who are going to share the gospel, not just to each other, but around the world. So I think the 9/11 event was the beginning of the curse on this nation. And people have said for a while now, you're starting to see millennials and other people come out saying the 90s was the last great decade, and that since then, people feel as though life has sucked. Each decade, you can really look at it and see the things about that decade that made it independent from the others. In the 60s, you had certain movies and TV shows that were culturally impacting the nation, certain clothing design styles, certain music. Those were things that made the 60s. And the same thing with the 70s, had all those things, but for their decade. 80s, the 90s, you can all think of things that fit that decade in those categories. In the 2000s, you really can't think of much. You can think of a handful of things. Most of it has to do with technology. But if you take technology out of the equation, those decades are empty. They have no soul. They have no culture. So I believe that was part of the curse that was put on this nation. America lost its soul. And I think America just got it back. With the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which really is a sacrifice, I believe the curse is now ended. It does not mean that there won't be turmoil on this nation. It does not mean that we won't have to fight more battles and we won't even go to wars. I just think that God has finally forgiven the people for turning from him. And in the name, the turning point, I believe Charlie Kirk was the turning point. He was the human turning point for this nation, the turning point of the end of the curse, marking the end of the curse on this nation and turning the people back to God. Now again, I could be wrong, and we will see in years to come. But I believe this is the beginning of good times. I believe that next year is probably going to be one of the greatest years in American history, with the 250-year mark of our anniversary of this nation being founded. But I also believe that it's going to be a huge revival year for people turning back to God through Christ.